Hello friends, and welcome to a new video. If we are just meeting, my name is Lisa J, and today's video I'm going to show you how I made this Ariel brooch inspired by the brooch that she wears at the parks. It's super easy, it's very customizable, so if you're interested in learning how to make one for yourself, go ahead and keep on watching.
For this project, you will need a casting resin, some disposable cups, gloves, disposables like stirrers or toothpicks, a lighter, a shell mold, a natural shell, some glue, a nail file which will get ruined, so don't use a good one, a safety pin back, and some pigments that you will use to color your piece. I'm using a really pretty mica powder as well as some glitters, but you can also use anything like pastels, paint, alcohol dyes, things like that you might have around the house. To prepare the natural shell, I just filed down the edges so that they would be nice and smooth so that it would sit on our seashell mold nicely. To prepare your resin, the first thing you want to do is go ahead and get your pigmentations and your glitters ready. I just stir them into a small cup so that they're ready to go when we have the resin poured, because once the resin pours, it will start curing very quickly. To get your resin ready, make sure you put gloves on because it is toxic and you want to keep it off your hands. And then you're just going to prepare your resin according to the directions of the resin that you have. My resin wants me to have an equal 1-to-1 ratio of whatever I pour out, so I'm just using the lines on the cups to make sure that I pour them equally. After you have those measured out, you're going to pour them into 1 cup together, and then you're going to slowly stir them together until you no longer see any weird lines and you just see clear resin. Once that's done, go ahead and grab your cup of pigments and stir some resin into that, and then slowly stir the resin and pigmentation together until it is all smooth and stirred in equally. Once that is all stirred up, go ahead and grab your mold and just pour the resin into it. I like to tap the mold onto the table a few times just to make sure there's no air bubbles or gaps in the mold. For the seashell, I decided to just cover it in a thin layer of resin. It gave it almost a glaze that made it nice and shiny, and just a touch of blue to match the molded piece. And then the last thing I'm going to do for today is grab a lighter and run it really quickly over my pieces to make sure that there's no air bubbles waiting to be popped, and then we just let it set overnight. So here it is the next day. You can see the nice glaze that the seashell has, and then we can go ahead and pop out our mold to see how that turned out too. This piece turned out really pretty, but I wish the front of it was a little bit shinier. So what we're going to do is we're going to just mix up another batch of resin. This time we're going to leave the resin clear, and all we're going to do is paintbrush on a very thin layer onto our seashell piece. Once that thin layer has cured, it's time to go ahead and start decorating the seashell. The first thing I did was add E6000 to the back of the natural seashell so that I could attach it to my larger molded piece. Next, it's time to add rhinestones. My rhinestones had self-adhesive on the back, but if you didn't have that, you can just go ahead and use that E6000 to glue these down as well. I started with larger rhinestones closer to the natural shell, and then I made them a little bit smaller as I got closer to the outer edge. Now Ariel's shell at the park I think has straight lines of jewels, but since my mold already had little shell grooves in it, I decided to just follow the little grooves that already existed. And to make it a brooch, all you have to do is super glue on a pin bar to the back of the piece and you are all done.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, go ahead and click that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more princess content just like this. Thanks for watching. Bye!